This E3 update is presented by State Farm.
Well, this is the final press conference of the day, and what a press conference it was. PlayStation. Let's just get to sort of the top line. The fact that they put out bullet points that drew the starkest of contrasts about used games and an always online connection, in contrast to what Microsoft had to reveal, albeit quite sheepishly and in legalese, back on Thursday. That excited the crowd inside of this building like nothing I've seen. I had my jaw kind of dropping. In fact, it was probably one of the most dramatic things I've seen at a press conference. Number two being the announcement 7 years ago when Sony said that the PlayStation 3 would be $599. And of course, after we saw what their policy was, I'm like, okay, they're going to get the goodwill, but what is the price of this going to be? And they come in $100 lower than what the Xbox One is going to be sold at. And to most people, and I think to myself as well, this seems to be the more sophisticated piece of hardware in terms of the parts, at the very least, that are inside of the PlayStation 4. I think they have played directly into what the ongoing narrative has been with the anxieties over DRM and what Microsoft's policies are, and they are coming out of this looking very, very good in the eyes of the hardcore gamers. In addition, they showed quite a few games. It was paced well, and there was a better sense of what you're going to be getting out of the games that they did show off. Now, that is an area, though, where I have a little bit of concern. We now have a sense of what we're going to be getting at the launch from Sony Studios. It looks like it will be Drive Club, it will be Knack, and it will be Killzone, with Infamous being somewhere off in the first quarter of 2014. Of course, we're going to have games as a show. Watch Dogs and Assassin's Creed 4 will be available, as they will be on other next-gen systems. Well, they'll be available on the Xbox One and on the PC. This is not the most intriguing lineup of games, but they also didn't give the best sense of what does happen in the next year. They did show one new game from the Sony Santa Monica studio and Ready at Dawn. That was The Order 1886, I believe it was. Forgive me on that. And it was nice to see that, but we're not getting a sense of what their long-term plan is in terms of content, other than Yoshida-san's claim that there are 20 new games coming from Sony that we're going to see by holiday of 2014. In that regard, I think that they were a little bit on the weak side, and Killzone just is. It's still a shooter in a lot of people's minds, that they're not having that sort of killer lineup of content. But I think in light of what their policies are, and definitely with the price, that's probably not looking as big an issue that's out there. Now, one thing that did stand out to me is the role of PlayStation Plus, which seems a little bit like it's going to become Xbox Live Gold, that to really get any type of decent experience out of the PlayStation 4, you're going to be needing to be paying that extra fee. There was something there on the bullet points that read to me, and I'll double check this with Sony if I can get someone to talk to, is that to actually get multiplayer out of the games, you need to be a PlayStation Plus member. So that comes down to about an extra $60. So you might want to start considering this as a $460 system and not a $400 system. That might put it more in line with what the Xbox One is going for if Xbox Live is free right out of the box, but we don't know anything about that. I have a feeling we're not going to hear anything like that from Microsoft anytime soon. I am quite disappointed, though, that the Gaikai, the cloud service, which really is kind of an integral and very important aspect, I think, to the PlayStation 4's identity, is something that will not be arriving until 2014. I'm really of the mind that people need to be able to get the whole experience right out of the box when they buy it. They did mention back in February from Sony that there would be a slow rollout of the assets of Gaikai. It didn't strike me that none of it would be available initially. But the idea of having this rather large game library that you can stream from is very appealing, and once again seems to be engendering a lot of goodwill with a lot of gamers out there. There was also the attention on indie games highlighted by Supergiant Game with the wonderful Greg Kasavin, who used to be editor-in-chief over at GameSpot, with their new title, Transistor. They once again made, I think, a more genuine play in that space, and that they're trying to develop and nurture. I think that will help round out what the catalog of games are. One thing that was a particular note to me was Kingdom Hearts 3. So for all of you out there that have been emailing me and tweeting me for I don't know how many years, there, you have an answer. I know nothing more. Be happy, smile, there. we're done with it. And also, it's worth noting, there was no Last Guardian. Did anyone else catch that? I think there was so much news that happened that it went right over anybody's head. So here are my final thoughts about everything that has occurred throughout the day. We are definitely moving into the next gen, and there are ambitions on Sony and Microsoft's side to start looking at these consoles as something that is more than just playing games. I think where Sony has definitely made an advantage is they know to get it into people's homes, to work with those early adopters who are hardcore gamers. You need to focus on the games first and slowly expand all the other options. I am not of the mind that the Xbox One is a fundamentally flawed system, but it isn't as clearly defined for the audience that will be buying it when it first comes out. They have a lot of games. They definitely showed off more games than we even saw here at the Sony press conference, but Sony did have a more confident and more clear-sighted idea of where they want to go. Having said that, I don't think we're going to have any idea what next-gen gaming means until much later next year at holiday, once we start to see what this library is, what the consistency of output is, and what the consistency of quality. I'm not seeing a case from either Sony or Microsoft for day one purchases outside of the completely legitimate sense of excitement that something new is around the corner. So there you have it. These are the end of day one here at E3. We have 3 more days coming. We're going to be on the show floor. You're going to be seeing mini interviews and demos of games. It will be an onslaught of content. So please stay tuned to what we have going up. The easiest thing to do is subscribe. YouTube.com/Rev3Games. This has been a lot of fun. I'm going to go relax my voice.
Rev3 knows games and State Farm knows insurance. With agents available 24/7, 365, visit statefarm.com to find an agent and get to a better state.